Imagine this. You're watching your favorite anime, completely hooked onto the epic battle scene, adrenaline rushing as the action reaches its peak, and then bam! Out of nowhere, a camera angle that has you praying that no one walks in and sees it. We've all been there, right? Whether you're loving that extra spice or hoping no one catches you in the act, fan service is everywhere. But here's the real question. Is it just a fun, harmless part of the anime, or is it slowly ruining the stories that we can't get enough of? Well, with no weird camera angles, let's just get to the weird stuff. Fanservice has been a part of anime for decades and its roots are deeply tied to Japanese culture. In Japan, entertainment often embraces a playful and exaggerated approach to storytelling. Anime reflects this by using fanservice to create humor, appeal, and excitement. Let's be real, when you think of anime, fanservice is probably one of the first things that come to your mind. Whether it's a cheeky joke, a suggestive outfit, or a jaw-dropping transformation, or hentai. Fanservice has a way of grabbing attention. Well, before we get ahead, first, what's fanservice? At its core, fanservice is about giving fans extra entertainment, whether through flashy action scenes, clever references, or let's be honest, section moments. In anime, it's usually over-the-top body proportions, skimpy outfits, or scenes that feel like they're trying a bit too hard to grab attention. But here's the thing, fanservice isn't always a bad thing. It can add humor, or even enhance a scene when used right. The problem arises when it starts hogging the spotlight, distracting from what really matters, and that is story and character depth. Now let's talk about where things really start to go off the rails. In recent years, fanservice has shifted from being a fun addition to being the main draw of many more animes. It's almost as if the creators are betting that the fanservice will keep the audience hooked to the anime even if the story and characters take a back seat. Take High School DxD for example, a series with an interesting story idea, but instead of focusing on character growth or the plot, it often shifts to over-the-top fanservice. The same happened with Food Wars, where the main story is about cooking gets interrupted by exaggerated and sexualized foodgasms that don't really add to the cooking or the character's development. The truth is, these shows often sacrifice quality storytelling for shock value. Rather than focusing on building strong narratives or meaningful conflicts, the question seems to be, how can we make this scene more sexier or more erotic? And while that may attract a certain demographic, it risks turning away the others who are looking for something more substantial. Sure, fanservice can be a fun element when used sparingly, but when it's overused, it starts to feel less like a treat and more like a gimmick. For instance, think about shows that center around fanservice rather than developing intricate storylines, like True Love Ru or Monster Musume or Kiss Sis. In these shows, it's not just a side element. Fanservice often becomes the main focus, overshadowing any attempt at creating meaningful drama or character arcs. Now, my personal experience with Kiss Sis was quite a handful. Don't get me wrong, I like Siscon and Lolicon. But if I would add, it was my first anime which I saw with this much amount of fan service in. And what ends up happening is that shows with great potential are reduced to just one-dimensional experiences. Instead of drawing viewers in with compelling plots or engaging character dynamics, they rely on cheap thrills, and that's a really missed opportunity. It's not like these shows can't be entertaining, there's just a fine line between indulging in fan service and prioritizing it to the point where it detracts from everything else. Take Mob Psycho 100 for example. At its core, the show is about the growth of its main character Mob and his journey to self-acceptance by learning to control his immense psychic powers. The real magic of the story comes from those raw moments of vulnerability and self-reflection. But imagine this, that every few minutes the show hits the pause button on Mob's personal growth to throw in some random and unnecessary fan service scene. Suddenly, Mob's emotional journey would feel like it was on a roller coaster, constantly getting interrupted by someone yelling "Woo!" in the background. That emotional impact gone. The stakes diminished. You'd go from can Mob control his powers to something like, can I skip this scene without feeling like a monster? In fan service heavy shows, characters often lose their spark. Instead of evolving into complex individuals with their own arcs, they become little more than one-dimensional tropes, defined by their physical attributes rather than their personalities. A prime example is High School of the Dead. While the premise could lead to some gripping storylines about survival and trauma, the constant fan service turns the characters into objects of desire instead of fully developed people. It's like watching a survival horror movie where the zombies are less scary tane the over-the-top cleavage shots. Instead of bonding over the shared experiences of fear and loss, that's the danger of fan service that doesn't serve the story. It turns character into props. It's like making a pizza where the crust is great, the sauce is delicious, but instead of cheese, you top it with glitter and confetti. Well, here's an exception. Neon Genesis Evangelion and Cowboy Bebop are proof that fan service doesn't need to steal the spotlight. In these masterpieces, the characters are defined by their actions, struggles, and relationships, and not by how they look in bikini or a tight suit. The emotional complexity of characters like Shinji Ikari or Spike Spiegel would be obliterated if the stories were hijacked by non-stop fan service. Not exactly groundbreaking, right? The effects of fan service reach way beyond just the shows themselves. It's like a ripple in the pond of the anime community. On one side, you got the fans who defend fan service as a harmless, light-hearted part of anime culture. To them, it's tradition, like adding extra spice to a dish. They argue it adds a little extra excitement and fun, like a surprise twist in your favorite rom-com. But on the flip side, there's a growing crowd of fans who aren't as spicy about fan service. For them, it's not just a minor annoyance, it's a full-on plot twist that ruins the integrity of the medium. They believe anime as an art form should offer more than just eye candy and shallow thrills. These fans feel like the overuse of fan service is limiting the kinds of stories anime can tell, turning potential masterpieces into cheap distractions. It's like ordering a gourmet meal only to find out it's mostly garnish and not much substance. The divide in community is no joke at all. You've probably seen the debates online, fans going toe to toe, some defending the fun of fan service heavy shows, while others are yelling, "Where's the substance?" It creates a us versus them mentality. It's like anime fans are split into two fractions, like one side loves the thrill while the other craves for the depth. It's not just about fans fighting in the comment section. The divide impacts how anime is perceived as a whole. When a show's marketing revolves too much around fan service, it sets up a false expectation. New viewers might be drawn in with the flashy trailers or over-the-top visuals, only to find themselves disappointed when they realize that there's more fan service than plot. The misleading marketing also affects the overall reputation of anime. If new viewers are lured in by just fan service and then let out by a lack of depth, they're going to start thinking that all anime is just eye candy with no real brains behind it. It's a frustrating cycle where the focus shifts from creating meaningful stories to what's provocative or attention-grabbing. Now let's quickly talk about some conventions. For some fans, conventions are all about celebrating the rich stories, art and creativity behind anime. For others, well, they're there for more revealing parts of the fandom. While there's room for both sides, the dominance of fan service heavy anime at conventions can make it hard to focus on the more serious and intellectual shows. It can overshadow the conversations about anime with real depth, pushing genres like drama or psychological thrillers to the margins. This focus on fan service impacts the industry too. Studios know that fan service sells, and when they see it pulling in numbers, they might lean into it, cranking out content that's more about the wow factor than the actual story. That doesn't leave much room for creative risk or pushing boundaries. Some creators may avoid trying new storytelling techniques or genres for fear that their show will flop without fan service to back it up. So while fan service keeps the cash flowing, it can stifle innovation and stop new exciting animes from making it to the screen. Now here's the deal. I'm not an anti-fan service. In fact, I think it can be a blast when it's used right. A little sprinkle here and there can add humor, lighten the mood, or even take a scene from good to great. When it's done right, fan service doesn't steal the spotlight, it enhances the show. Take One Punch Man for example. The fan service in this series is often used for comedic effect, perfectly matching its satirical vibe. It doesn't feel forced or out of place, and it doesn't distract from the main plot as well. Saitama's journey as a hero who's bored out of his mind. But here's the catch, not every show nails this balance. While I enjoy fan service when it's done right, I don't think it should be dominating the story. When it's overdone, it can turn what could be a compelling narrative into something more hollow. Fan service works best when it complements the experience without trying to hog the limelight. For me, fan service is like seasoning. A pinch of it can make the show more fun, but too much can totally drown the main flavor. It's all about moderation. Well, anime is a medium that can make us laugh, cry, and think, and that's what makes it so special. So, is fan service ruining anime? It's not black and white. When it's excessive, it can distract from what makes anime truly great, but when it's used right, it can be fun and valuable part of the package. Now, well, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. What do you think? Is fan service ruining anime, or is fan service actually adding into anime? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Well, that will wait for my today's video. Subscribe to my channel, like the video, and follow me on Instagram as well. I post anime memes over there. And well, that'll be it. I know the videos are getting late, but yeah, that'll be it, and I'll see you in the next video. Matane.